Hey guys, tonight we are going on a journey. A very, very different kind of journey. We're not just visiting a place, we're stepping into a moment. A terrifyingly real, intensely personal moment that countless people faced, yet history books rarely linger on. You are about to give birth. Alone, in the wilderness of medieval Europe. The odds are, well, let's just say if this were a video game, you'd probably want to restart after the first 5 minutes. It's a story of survival at its most primal level, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support means the world, and while you're at it, I'd love to see you say hi in the comments. Tell me what city you're in and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see where everyone is tuning in from as the world quiets down. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice is the mud. It's a cold, greedy mud that sucks at your worn leather shoes with every step, making a soft, wet sound that is the only companion to your ragged breathing. Each footfall is an effort, not just because of the mud or the relentless chill of the late autumn air that seeps through your damp wool cloak, but because of the weight, the heavy, living weight you carry in your belly. Your back aches. It's not the sharp pain of an injury, but a deep, persistent throb that has been your shadow for weeks. It radiates from the base of your spine, a constant reminder of the burden and the miracle you carry. You press a hand against it, trying to find a moment of relief, but there is none. The land around you offers no comfort. It's a rolling, unforgiving landscape of skeletal trees and grey, moss-covered stone, all under a sky of dishwater. No friendly curls of smoke on the horizon. You left all that behind, or rather, it left you. You can't afford to think about that now. About the shouting, the smell of smoke that washed from a hearth, the chaos that sent you fleeing into the woods, with nothing but the clothes on your back and a small, lumpy pouch tied to your belt. Thinking is a luxury. Right now, there is only walking, one foot in front of the other, find shelter. Then you feel it. It's different from the baby's usual kicks and tumbles. Those were reassurances, little nudges from a world within. This is something else. A profound, muscular tightening that starts slow in your belly and wraps around your aching back like a rope being pulled taut. It steals your breath for a moment. You stop, leaning your forehead against the rough, wet bark of an oak tree, closing your eyes and just breathing through it. 1, 2, 3, it holds for a small eternity. Then slowly, graciously, it releases you. You know this feeling. You've seen it on the faces of other women in the village, your sister, your neighbor. You've heard the hushed, knowing conversations. This is the beginning. A new urgency propels you forward. The search for shelter is no longer a practical consideration for the coming night. It is a primal, desperate need. You scan the grim landscape, your eyes darting from one shadow to the next. The trees are too exposed. A thicket of thorny bushes might hide you, but it offers no protection from the biting wind or the rain that is beginning to fall in fine, icy needles. You remember the old women's tales. The superstitions and fragments of wisdom passed down through generations. They say a difficult journey means a difficult birth. They say a child born under a stormy sky will have a turbulent life. You glance up. The sky offers no comfort, only the promise of a long, cold night. Historians, in their comfortable future, will debate endlessly about the realities of daily life for a woman like you. How far you might travel, what freedoms you truly had. Some argue your world was confined to the village and the fields, while others find evidence of women undertaking long, arduous pilgrimages. Right now, their debates are meaningless. Your world is this muddy track, this hostile forest, and the undeniable, biological clock that has just begun its final, powerful countdown. As you walk, your hand instinctively goes to the small pouch at your hip. The lumpy shapes inside are familiar. A small, smooth stone your mother gave you for luck. A piece of dried, hard bread wrapped in a scrap of linen. And a precious piece of flint, carefully protected from the damp. It's a pathetic collection of worldly goods, but right now, it feels like an arsenal. This brings a strange, almost funny thought to your mind. Scholars in the future might be fascinated by the idea of childbirth without modern medicine, but they often overlook the simplest things. For instance, the sheer lack of privacy. In a village, a birth was a communal event, with neighbors, mothers, and sisters crowding into a small, smoky hut. There was no sterile field, just a shared space, a shared struggle. Here, you have an almost infinite privacy, and yet you've never felt more exposed. Another wave of pain hits you stronger this time. You cry out, a small, sharp sound that is immediately swallowed by the vast, indifferent wilderness. You grit your teeth and push on, your eyes wild now, searching, pleading with the landscape. And that's when you see it. Through the thickening curtain of rain, nestled at the base of a low, stony hill, is a shadow, a darkness that isn't a tree or a bush. It's a fissure in the rock, a cave. Hope is a dangerous thing. It can make you reckless. You half stumble, half run towards the dark opening, ignoring the sharp stones that twist under your worn shoes and the grasping, thorny branches that tear at your cloak. The rain is heavier now, plastering your hair to your forehead and running in cold rivulets down your neck. All you can think of is the patch of darkness, a promise of refuge from the wind and the wet. As you get closer, the reality of it begins to set in. It's not a grand, welcoming cavern. It's a raw, jagged crack in the earth, barely taller than you are, framed by dripping moss and ferns. The air that breathes out from it is heavy and damp, carrying the ancient smell of cold stone, wet earth, and something else, something faintly animal, like the den of a fox or a badger long since departed. You hesitate at the entrance, your momentary relief giving way to a new kind of fear. Open threat of the wilderness for a close, confined, and unknown one. You take a deep breath and duck inside. The world outside, with its grey light and relentless rain, is instantly muted. Here, in the belly of the hill, a profound silence reigns. It's a silence so deep it rings in your ears. The darkness is almost absolute. A few feet from the entrance, the light surrenders completely, and you are swallowed by the black. You stand still for a long moment, letting your eyes adjust, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. Slowly, shapes begin to emerge from the gloom. The cave is small, a shallow, irregular chamber that narrows into blackness at the back. The floor is uneven, a mixture of packed earth and loose, damp gravel. Water drips steadily from the ceiling in one corner, a slow, hypnotic rhythm, plink, 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 that counts the seconds. It is cold. A deep, penetrating cold that seems to radiate from the very stones themselves. A cold that feels older than the forest outside. Is it safe? You listen. You hold your breath until your lungs burn, straining to hear anything other than your own blood roaring in your ears and the steady drip of water. There is nothing. No growl from the dark recesses, no rustle of a disturbed creature. It seems you are alone for now. Another contraction seizes you, this one sharper and more insistent. You gasp, leaning against the damp, gritty wall of the cave. The stone is brutally cold against your cheek, shocking you into a new awareness of your situation. This is it. This cold, dark, silent place will be your birthing room. There will be no warm hearth, no kettle of boiling water, no comforting hands of a midwife. There is only you, the unblinking darkness, and the stone. This is a truth that future historians often romanticize or, conversely, over-dramatize. They might write about the natural aspect of such a birth, but they can't truly capture the bone-deep chill or the gnawing anxiety. What they also often miss is the sheer practicality of the moment. Your mind, even in the grip of pain, is not lost to panic. It is focused, racing through a checklist of survival. Warmth, water. You slide down the wall, your body heavy and uncooperative, and sit on the cold ground. First things first, the pouch. You untie the leather thong with fumbling, numb fingers. You lay out its contents on a flat, relatively dry patch of rock. The lucky stone from your mother. You clutch it in your palm. Its smoothness a small, tangible comfort. The hard, stale bread. You break off a tiny piece and chew it slowly, forcing yourself to swallow. It's nearly tasteless, but it is sustenance. The most precious item, the flint and a small piece of steel. Your hands are shaking, partly from the adrenaline of the last few hours. Creating a fire in these conditions is a monumental task. You look around the cave floor, your eyes now better accustomed to the faint light trickling in. You need tinder, dry tinder. You crawl on your hands and knees, ignoring the sharp pebbles digging into your skin, your hands patting the ground, searching. Near the back wall, you find a small, forgotten pile of leaves and dried moss, probably an old animal's nest. It's slightly damp, but it's better than nothing. You gather it carefully, cupping it in your hands like a fragile treasure. Then you remember something else, a small, odd detail often lost in bigger historical narratives. Your own clothes, specifically, the lint from the seams of your wool tunic. For generations, people like you have known that this tiny, fluffy debris is one of the best fire starters available. It's a piece of folk knowledge, a domestic secret that is now a key to your survival. You painstakingly pick at the inside seams of your clothing, gathering a small, precious pile of fluff. You arrange your meager findings on the rock. The lint first, then the driest leaves, then the slightly damp moss on top. You take a deep breath, trying to still your shaking hands. You hold the flint in one hand, the steel in the other. You remember watching your father do this 1,000 times. A sharp, downward strike, nothing. Another. A single, pathetic spark flies and dies instantly in the damp air. You adjust your grip. You know you only have so much energy. Each failed attempt chips away at your resolve. The cave seems to get colder, the darkness more oppressive. The fate of you and your unborn child rests on this single, desperate act, the ancient human magic of coaxing flame from stone. Another contraction hits you, harder than any before. It's a deep, primal wave that clenches every muscle in your body. Your back arches, and a low groan escapes your lips, echoing in the small, stone chamber. You drop the flint and steel, clutching your belly as the pain crests. It feels as if the hill itself is squeezing you, trying to force this new life out into the world. When the wave finally recedes, it leaves you trembling, breathless, and slick with a cold sweat. The pain clears your mind, sharpens it. There is no more time for fumbling. You pick up the stones again, your movements now deliberate, almost fierce. You huddle over your little pile of tinder, shielding it with your body, creating a small pocket of slightly warmer air with your own breath. You strike the steel against the flint, again and again, a frantic, rhythmic clack, clack, clack that cuts through the cave's silence. For a moment, there is only this sound, your ragged breathing, and the desperate hope for a spark. And then it happens. A single brilliant orange spark arcs from the stone and lands squarely in the little nest of lint. It glows for a heartbeat, a tiny, defiant star in the immense darkness. You hold your breath, your entire being focused on that fragile ember. You lower your head and blow, not a panicked gust, but a slow, steady, gentle stream of air, coaxing it, nurturing it. The ember glows brightest. A faint wisp of smoke rises, smelling acrid and promising. One by one, the smoke thickens, and then with a soft whoosh a tiny, hesitant flame flickers into existence. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. The flame is small, fragile, yet it pushes back the oppressive darkness, transforming the cave. The damp, menacing stone walls are now painted in dancing shades of orange and yellow. The shadows leap and sway. The chamber no longer feels like a tomb, but a sanctuary. A bubble of warmth and light carved out of the cold, hostile world. You feed the tiny fire with more leaves, then twigs, building it slowly, carefully, until you have a small, steady blaze. The warmth seeps into your child bones, a feeling so profoundly comforting it almost brings you to tears. You extend your trembling hands towards the flames, letting the heat lick at your numb fingers. This fire is more than just warmth, it is a shield. It will keep the deepest of the chill at bay, and perhaps, just perhaps, it will deter whatever creatures might lurk in the night. The start of your labor, the travail as the French-speaking nobles might call it, from the same root word as work or torment, is now undeniable. The contractions are coming closer together, each one a relentless, powerful tide. This is the first stage, the long, slow opening. In your village, the midwife would have marked this time with reassuring words, with sips of herbal tea, with the bustling presence of other women. Your only markers are the steady drip of water in the corner and the dance of the shadows on the wall. You settle yourself as comfortably as you can on the cold ground, your back against a relatively smooth section of the wall. The firelight illuminates your small domain. You can see the glittering mica intricate patterns of moss near the entrance, the way the smoke curls up and finds a small fissure in the ceiling to escape through. The world has shrunk to this small, flickering circle of light. And in this circle the whispers begin. Not from the cave, but from your own mind. They are the voices of fear, of doubt. Can you do this alone? What if the baby? You shake your head, trying to banish the thoughts. Panic is a luxury you cannot afford. It is an indulgence that will steal your strength, your focus. You need to anchor yourself. You force your mind to a different set of voices, the fragmented memories, the half-forgotten advice of the women in your life. Your mother, showing you how to knead bread, her hands strong and sure. Patience, she would say. You cannot rush it. You must feel the rhythm of it. You try to apply that to the contractions. Feel the rhythm. Don't fight it. Breathe with it. You remember your grandmother, a woman whose face is now a blur in your memory, but whose words sometimes surface like stones in a stream. She was a woman of the old ways, full of superstitions and herbal remedies that the village priest disapproved of. Historians of the future might debate the efficacy of such folk medicine, some dismissing it as pure superstition, others arguing for a core of empirical knowledge passed down through generations. To you, her words are a lifeline. She used to say that fear draws out the pain and makes the passage tight. A birthing woman must be a warrior, she'd whisper, but her greatest weapon is surrender. Surrender. The idea seems absurd. You are fighting for your life, for your child's life. How can you surrender? But as another wave of pain builds, you try it. Instead of tensing your muscles, you try to consciously relax them. You breathe deeply, imagining your body opening, making way. It doesn't stop the pain is immense, overwhelming, but it changes its quality. It feels less like an attack and more like an immense, powerful, and productive for smoothing through you. Your torment, your travail, the night wears on, the fire crackles. The water drips, the waves of contraction come and go, each one a little stronger, a little closer to the last. You are alone in a cave, balanced on the knife's edge between creation and oblivion, and you surrender to the rhythm. Time loses all meaning. Is it midnight? Is it the hour before dawn? The small fire is your only clock, and you measure its passing in the slow consumption of the twigs you've gathered. The world outside the cave has ceased to exist. There is only the warm, flickering light, the cold stone at your back, and the relentless, rhythmic work of your body. Your hand, almost of its own accord, goes back to the small leather pouch lying on the rock beside you. You've already taken out the essentials, the flint, the bread. But your fingers search for the last remaining objects, the small, seemingly insignificant things you carry. They are your only connection to a life that now feels a lifetime away. First, your fingers close around the smooth, cool weight of the lucky stone. It's a simple river stone, worn and grey, with a single, unbroken white line encircling it. Your mother gave it to you on your wedding day. It's a wishing stone, she had said, her voice rough with emotion. It holds the circle of a life. Keep it safe. At the time, it felt like a silly, sentimental gesture. Now, in the deep, profound loneliness of the cave, its solid, tangible reality is an anchor. You rub your thumb over its smooth surface, back and forth, back and forth. The repetitive motion is calming, a small ritual in the midst of chaos. You are not just a creature in pain, you are a daughter, a wife, a person with a past. This stone is proof. Your fingers brush against the scrap of linen that held the bread. It's rough homespun cloth, not the fine material the lady of the manor wears, but good, sturdy stuff. You bring it to your nose. It smells faintly of yeast in the wooden chest where you kept your bread. It's the smell of home, of routine, of safety. It's a ghost of a scent, but it's enough to conjure a vivid image of your small, smoky cottage, the warmth of the hearth, The low murmur of your husband's voice as he mended a tool by the fire. A lump forms in your throat. You must not cry. Tears are a waste of water, a waste of strength. You fold the small piece of cloth carefully and tuck it back into the pouch. There is one last thing inside, a small carved wooden bird, no bigger than your thumb. Its wings are slightly chipped, and the paint has long since worn away, but you can still make out the delicate shape of it. Your father carved it for you when you were a little girl, bedridden with a fever. He sat by your side for 3 days, and his knife and a block of wood were his only companions. He told you it was a magic bird, that it would fly away and carry your sickness with it. You slept with it clutched in your hand, and when you woke, the fever was gone. These are the artifacts of your life. Historians digging here 1,000 years from now might find the stone and the bird. They might label them grave goods or ritual objects. They would write learned papers debating their purpose. Was the stone a tool? Was the bird a child's toy, a religious icon? They could never guess the truth. That these objects were not for the dead, but for the living. They were tools of a different kind, tools for holding on to your own humanity when everything else was being stripped away. The reliance on such small, personal talismans is a facet of medieval life that is often misunderstood. In a world with so much uncertainty, famine, disease, war, people clung to faith in all its forms. This included the official faith of the church, of course, but it also encompassed a deep-seated belief in luck, in charms, in the power of objects to hold memory and protection. Scholars still argue about the line between personal piety and what the church would have called superstition. In this cave there is no line. The stone in your hand is as real and as powerful as any prayer. A powerful contraction rips through you, pulling you from your reverie. It is different, deeper, carrying with it a new and immense pressure in your lower back. You cry out, the sound sharp and animal. This is a new stage. The work is changing. The memory of your mother's wishing stone and your father's magic bird must now give way to the overwhelming, biological reality of the present. You shift your position, trying to find some way to alleviate intense pressure. You try kneeling, leaning forward and bracing your hands against the cave floor. The cool, gritty earth feels solid beneath your palms. You rock back and forth, trying to work with a crushing sensation. Your body knows what to do, even if your mind is terrified. It is an ancient instinctual knowledge passed down through a million mothers. You look at the small, pathetic pile of wood you've gathered. It will not last the night, as the contraction subsides, leaving you panting. You know you have to move. You crawl towards the cave entrance, into the cold, damp air. The rain has stopped, but the world is dripping and dark. You grope around in the mud and wet leaves just outside the opening, your fingers searching for anything that feels like a fallen branch or a solid piece of wood. You find a few, soaking wet but thick enough to burn for a while once they dry by the fire. You drag them back inside, your safe warm circle, your tiny island of light in a sea of darkness and pain. Every small victory, every stick added to the pile, feels like a battle one. As you huddle back towards the fire, dragging your meager haul of damp wood, your mind latches onto another set of memories. These are not comforting keepsakes, but sharp, practical fragments of conversations, overheard whispers, and stark warnings from the women of your village, specifically the words of old Elspeth, the midwife. Elspeth was a woman carved from oak, bent and gnawed by time, with eyes that had seen too much birth and too much death to waste time on pleasantries. Her methods were a chaotic mix of practical experience, herbal lore, and what the priest called sinful superstition. She was respected and feared in equal measure. Now, in the flickering solitude of the cave, you find yourself clinging to every remembered scrap of her gruff, often contradictory advice. Don't you lie on your back like a landed trout, she had once snapped at a young woman struggling in labor. That's a fool's position. The babe has to fight gravity. Get on your knees, squat, hang from a rope if you must. Let the earth pull the child from you. The memory is so vivid you can almost smell the wood smoke and boiled herbs of the birthing hut. You try to follow her command. Lying on the cold, hard ground is doing you no favors. The pressure is immense, and you feel trapped beneath it. Awkwardly, painfully, you push yourself up onto your hands and knees. The change in posture is immediate. The intense pressure in your lower back shifts, becoming more focused, more directional. It's still agony, but it feels purposeful now, not like a crushing weight but a powerful, downward push. You rock gently, back and forth, trying to find a rhythm that matches the one your body is creating. Then another piece of Elspeth's wisdom floats up from your memory. It was something she muttered while stirring a pungent concoction over a fire. The babe will tell you when to push. Don't you go wasting your strength trying to force a green apple from the bough. Wait for the urge. Your body knows the moment. This urge is something women whispered about, a force so overwhelming it was impossible to ignore. You haven't felt it yet. The contractions are powerful, yes, but they are still something happening to you. You are riding the waves, not directing them. So you wait. You breathe. You rock on your hands and knees, listening to the fire, to the driftingly urgent signals of your own body. You recall the herbs Elspeth used. She had a whole pouch of dried leaves and roots, each with its own purpose. Raspberry leaf for strengthening the womb, she'd say. Thyme to ward off evil spirits and, more practically, because its strong scent could cover the smells of birth, chamomile to calm the nerves. You have none of these. Your pouch is empty of such remedies, but the memory itself is a kind of medicine. It reminds you that for generations, women have faced this with nothing more than the knowledge of the fields and forests. This is a point of constant fascination and debate for future scholars. They call it ethnobating, the study of how people use native plants. They'll analyze the chemical compounds in things like raspberry leaf and find that, yes, it contains fragarini, an alkaloid that can tone the muscles of the pelvic region. They'll prove that some of old Elspeth's remedies had a real scientific basis. However, they will also find that many other traditional birthing herbs were ineffective or even dangerous. The line between medicine and placebo, between helpful and harmful, was perilously thin, and women like Elspeth walked it based on knowledge passed down from mother to daughter, a chain of information that was both precious and precarious. She was the village's only expert, a living library of unwritten knowledge. You remember asking her once, naively, what the worst part of a birth was. She had looked at you with her sharp, bird-like eyes and given a grim, humorless smile. It's the waiting, she'd said, and the fear. They eat a woman's strength before the real work even begins. A frightened womb is a closed fist, a closed fist. The image is stark, brutal, and clear. You look at your own hands, clenched tight against the gritty floor of the cave. A frightened womb. You forced your fingers to UNCURL. You take a deep, shaky breath and let it out slowly, consciously trying to release the tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your belly. You are not a closed fist. You are an opening door. You repeat the words in your head, a silent mantra against the rising tide of pain. A sudden, sharp cramp in your thigh makes you cry out. Dehydration and muscle exhaustion are setting in. You need water, not just to drink, but for it to come. Elspeth was obsessive about water. Wash your hands, she would command anyone who entered the birthing room. Clean cloths, clean water. The childbed fever is a demon that slips in on filth. Childbed fever, puerperal fever. You've seen strong, healthy women survive the birth only to be consumed by a raging fire from within a few days later, leaving behind a new baby and a devastated family. It was the great terror that followed every birth, a shadow that no one knew how to fight. Elspeth believed it was a demon or a curse. You don't know what it is, but you know it is real. You crawl towards the sound of the dripping water in the corner. It's too slow to collect any meaningful amount. You press on, further into the darkness at the back of the cave, your firelight casting long, dancing shadows ahead of you. Your hand, patting the ground, suddenly plunges into icy cold. You gasp and pull back. You've found a small, forgotten pool, fed by the steady drip from the ceiling. You dip your fingers in. It's shockingly cold, but it feels clean. This is a gift. You cup your hands and bring the water to your lips, drinking greedily. It's the best thing you have ever tasted. You have water. You have a chance. The water revives you, a shock of cold clarity in the feverish, pain-filled bubble of the cave. You drink until the cramping in your muscles eases, until your throat no longer feels like sand and dust. But as you pull back from the small, precious pool, a new awareness dunks. The light from your fire, which seemed so bright and welcoming from the center of the cave, barely penetrates this far back, and the sun has long since set. You crawl back towards the fire, back to your small island of light. Outside the cave's mouth, the world has dissolved into an impenetrable blackness. The familiar shapes of the trees and the hill are gone, swallowed by a night so total it feels solid. The wind has picked up again, and it howls around the entrance of the cave. A low, mournful sound like a hungry animal. It's a sound that promises no dawn is coming soon. This is a different kind of darkness than the one inside the cave. The cave's darkness is a quiet, close, contained thing. The darkness of the world outside is vast, alive, and filled with unknown possibilities. You are now really and utterly alone, sealed in your small chamber of stone, on a tiny, fragile raft of firelight, adrift in an ocean of night. The contractions are changing, becoming longer, holding you in their grip for what feels like minutes at a time. The peaks are so intense they blot out all thought, reducing the world to a single, searing point of sensation. But it's the valleys that are becoming more difficult. In the brief moments of respite between the waves of pain, the fear comes creeping back, whispering from the shadows. What is out there in that howling darkness? You think of the stories travelers tell around the fire. Tales of wolves with eyes like embers, of wild boar with tusks that can rip a man open, of bears roused from their slumber. These are not children's fairy tales, they are real dangers, a part of the fabric of your knife. It must. You add another piece of damp wood to the flames, and it hisses and smokes, fighting to catch. For a terrifying moment, the fire dwindles, and the shadows in the cave leap and grow, threatening to swallow you. You blow on the embers, your breath coming in panicked gasps, until the new wood finally catches them. The light flares up again, pushing the darkness back to the corners. The psychological toll of a medieval night is something modern minds can barely comprehend. We are a people saturated in light. Our cities glow, our homes are filled with it at the flick of a switch. We have tamed the night. For you, the night is a different realm, a time when the world belongs to other things. Evil spirits, restless ghosts, and very real predators. To be alone in labor through an entire night was not just a physical ordeal, it was a profound psychological one. Historians can document the types of animals and the folkloric beliefs, but they can replicate the deep, instinctual dread of hearing a branch snap in a forest you cannot see. Another contraction begins its slow, powerful ascent. You brace yourself against the wall, your knuckles white. You try to focus on old Elspeth's words, surrender, be an opening door, but your mind is a battlefield. One part of you is trying to work with your body to relax and open. The other part is straining to listen to the sounds outside, tensing at every gust of wind, every skittering noise that might be a little more than just a falling pebble. This is the long, lonely vigil. The slow march of hours with no company but your own pain and your own fear. You begin to talk to yourself, your whispers lost in the sound of the wind and the crackle of the fire. It's all right, you murmur, the words feeling strange and hollow in your own ears. Just a little longer. You are strong. You can do this. You are trying to be your own midwife, your own comforting presence. You even find yourself talking to the baby. Soon you whisper, your hand resting on your impossibly tight belly. Soon now. We just have to get through this night, you and me. It's a strange comfort, this one-sided conversation. It reminds you that you are not truly alone. You are a we. There are two of you in this cave, fighting the same battle. You think about the superstitions tied to the night. A child born in the deep of night, they say, will have the gift of sight, able to see things others cannot. A child born in a storm will have a temper as wild as the wind. You wonder what they would say about a child born in a cave, alone, with only a fire for a midwife. What destiny would that foretell? This fascination with omens and portents was woven into the very fabric of medieval society. The time of day, the phase of the moon, the weather, all were believed to be powerful influences on a newborn's character and fate. It was a way of making sense of a world that was oft unchaotic and unpredictable. A particularly violent gust of wind shrieks at the cave mouth, and for a second, you think you hear a different sound carried on it. A distant howl, a wolf, or just the wind playing tricks on your strained nerves. You freeze, every muscle tensed. You stare into the fire, as if the flames themselves could offer protection. You feed it another precious stick. The fire is your anchor, your shield, your only companion in the long, slow, terrifying battle against the night. And the night is very, very long. The fire is starting to die. The realization hits you with a jolt of cold fear that has nothing to do with the cave's chill. Your carefully gathered pile of wood, which seemed so substantial hours ago, has dwindled to a few gnarled, damp branches. The flames, once a cheerful, roaring presence, have shrunk to a low, sullen glow, casting weak and trembling shadows on the walls. The darkness of the edges of the cave is creeping in, reclaiming its territory inch by inch. Panic flutters in your chest. The fire is everything. It is your warmth, your light, your shield against the things that move in the night. More than that, it has become the focal point of your will, a living symbol of your fight to survive. To let it die would feel like a profound surrender, a final admission of defeat. A contraction seizes you, pinning you in place, but your eyes remain fixed on the dying embers. The pain is a white-hot fire inside you, but the fear of the coming cold and darkness is a fire of a different kind. You have to keep it alive. When the wave of pain recedes, leaving you weak and panting, you move with a desperate urgency. You take the largest remaining piece of wood, a thick, stubbornly dark branch, and push it into the heart of the embers. It smokes and hisses, threatening to extinguish the little life that remains. You get down on your hands and knees, ignoring the filth and the sharp stones, and blow. Your breath is ragged and weak. At first, nothing happens. The smoke stings your eyes and fills your lungs. You feel a wave of dizziness, but you don't stop. You blow and blow, pouring your own life force, your own precious air, into the dying coals. It becomes a primal, rhythmic act. Inhale, blow. You are breathing for yourself, for your baby, and for this fire. Slowly, agonizingly, a tiny flicker of red appears at the base of the wood. A single, small flame, no bigger than your thumbnail, licks up the side of the branch. It wavers, threatening to go out, then catches again. You watch it, mesmerized, holding your breath. It grows tentatively at first, then with more confidence, until the branch is properly alight, burning with a steady, renewed glow. You collapse back against the wall, utterly spent, your head spinning. The fire is alive. For now. You have won another small, desperate victory. You watch the single, wavering flame, your only companion in this fight. It is a lonely, fragile light in the vast, indifferent darkness of the world. This constant struggle for basic resources is a reality of medieval life that is often overlooked in grand histories of kings and battles. For most people, life was an endless calculation of resources. How much wood for the winter, how much grain until the next harvest, how much light from a single tallow candle. The idea of disposable energy would have been utterly alien. Every scrap of fuel, every calorie of food was precious. And nowhere is that more true than here in this cave, where a few sticks of wood are the difference between life and death. You look at the flame, how it dances and sways. It casts your shadow, huge and distorted, against the rough stone wall behind you. You see the shadow of your own hunched form, your swollen belly, a grotesque and monstrous silhouette. For a moment, you feel a profound sense of alienation from your own body. It is no longer yours. It is a vessel, a tool for this immense, biological process, a thing of pain and strange, uncontrollable urges. The memory of another old superstition surfaces, one Elspeth, the midwife, was particularly adamant about. She believed that during childbirth the veil between worlds was thin. Spirits, both good and bad, were drawn to the raw power of creation. She would hang charms over the doorway and burn pungent herbs not just for their medicinal properties, but to ward off these unseen entities. A flickering fire, she believed, could attract mischievous sprites that might try to steal the baby's breath or tangle the birth cords. Historians might call this animism, a belief that spirits inhabit the natural world. They debate whether these beliefs were survivals from a pre-Christian pagan past or simply a way for people to give form to their anxieties. Did people like Elspeth literally believe in sprites, or was it a metaphorical language for the unpredictable dangers of childbirth, a sudden fever, a cord wrapped around the neck, a baby that failed to cry? The answer is likely somewhere in between. Staring at your own monstrous shadow dancing on the wall, the idea of unseen forces feels terrifyingly real. The cave does not feel empty. You close your eyes, trying to shut out the dancing shadow, trying to focus inward. You feel the baby move, a slow, heavy turn within you. A reminder of the reality inside, a life separate from the phantoms of the firelight. The renewed fire provides a small pocket of physical comfort, but the psychological battle rages on. The effort to save it has cost you dearly. Your limbs feel heavy as lead, your head aches, and a deep, bone-weary exhaustion has settled over you. The adrenaline that has been fueling you for hours is beginning to fade, replaced by a profound and dangerous weariness. You feel an almost overwhelming urge to simply lie down, to close your eyes and let sleep take you. A sweet promise of oblivion. But you know, with a certainty that chills you to the core, that if you fall asleep, the fire will die again. And this time, you may not have the strength to bring it back. You must stay awake, you must watch the flame. The fire is alive, but you are fading. A gnawing emptiness has opened up in your stomach, a hollow ache that speaks of hours of exertion and no sustenance. The tiny piece of stale bread you ate what feels like a lifetime ago is a distant memory. Your body is a furnace, burning through its last reserves of fuel to power this incredible, agonizing work. You know you need to eat. You need to drink again. These are not cravings, they are desperate, biological commands. A birthing woman, Elspeth the midwife used to say, needs the strength of a plough horse. She would force gruel and weak ale on the laboring women in the village, knowing that an empty stomach leads to an exhausted body, and an exhausted body cannot finish the journey. Your eyes scan the small, firelit space of the cave. There is nothing. The pouch is empty. The rocks are bare. Your gaze falls on the small pool of water at the back of the cave. Water is something. It will fill the void in your stomach, at least for a moment. Crawling is an ordeal. Every movement is a monumental effort. Your knees are raw, your muscles scream in protest. You make your way to the back of the cave, into the deeper darkness, and lower your face to the icy pool. You drink, and the cold water is a brief, sharp relief. But it does not satisfy the deep, primal hunger. As you drink, your hand, resting on the damp earth beside the pool, brushes against something soft and yielding. Moss. A thick, green carpet of it grows here in the perpetual damp, in your hunger-fueled haze. A strange thought surfaces. Can you eat it? You've seen deer and other animals browse on mosses and lichens in the deep of winter when nothing else is available. You pull up a small clump. It's cold and wet and smells of earth and stone. You hesitate, then put a tiny piece in your mouth. The texture is gritty, spongy, and deeply unpleasant. It tastes of dirt and damp with a bitter undertone. You chew it slowly, then force yourself to swallow. It's not food. It will not give you strength. This is a stark reminder of your desperation. This is a detail often lost in romanticized depictions of survival. While it's true that some mosses and lichens are technically edible like rock tripe, which starving soldiers and explorers have been known to eat, most are indigestible and some are toxic. Identifying the safe ones requires a level of botanical knowledge that few people, even in the medieval period, would have possessed. The assumption that a natural person would instinctively know what to eat in the wild is a modern fantasy. For you, this mouthful of bitter earth is not a clever survival tactic, it's a measure of your fading hope. You spit out the rest of the moss and crawl back to the fire, the bitter taste still in your mouth. The hunger remains, a dull, aching fire in your belly that mirrors the real fire in front of you. Both need fuel. Both are in danger of dying out. The thirst is a more immediate problem. The sips of water from the pool have only highlighted how dehydrated you are. Your lips are cracked, your tongue feels thick. You need more than just a few handfuls of water. You need a vessel. Your eyes scan your meager possessions. The leather pouch, it's too small and would leak. Your shoes, they are caked in mud and made of cured leather that would taint the water. There is nothing. Then your eyes fall on a piece of rock near the fire, A slab that has a shallow, bowl-like depression in its center. It's not deep, maybe only an inch, but it's something. With painstaking effort, you drag the heavy stone from the wall over to the pool at the back of the cave. It takes you several minutes, your breath coming in ragged sobs. You position it under the steady tea drip from the ceiling. Plink, 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 plink. Each drop lands in the small depression with a soft sound. You watch as the water slowly, agonizingly, begins to collect. It will take a long time to gather enough to be useful. But it is a plan. It is a small act of foresight in a world that has been reduced to moment-by-moment survival. You crawl back to the fire and wait. The waiting is a trial in itself. You are trapped between the urgent, all-consuming demands of your body, the waves of pain, the gnawing hunger, the pea-arching thirst, and the slow, patient rhythm of the cave, the dripping water, the burning wood. It's in this state of deprivation that your mind begins to play tricks on you. The shadows on the wall seem to twist into more definite shapes. The sound of the wind at the entrance sounds more and more like a voice whispering your name. You think you can smell bread baking. A hallucination so vivid, so real, that your mouth waters and a fresh wave of despair washes over you when you realize it's not real. Your body is consuming itself to create a new life. The physiological reality of this is brutal. A laboring woman burns calories at an incredible rate, comparable to a marathon runner. Without replenishment, her body starts to break down its own muscle and fat for energy. This process, ketosis, can lead to a state of confusion, exhaustion, and, in a strange way, a kind of euphoria or detachment. Historians can study the diet and famine cycles of the Middle Ages, but the specific, desperate hunger of a woman in this situation is a unique and lonely trial. You are literally giving your own substance to your child, hoping you have enough left for yourself to see the dawn. You listen to the slow plink, plink of the water filling your makeshift bowl. It is the sound of hope, but it is a very, very slow sound. Crack. The sound is sharp, sudden, and utterly alien to the soft, rhythmic noises of the cave. It comes from outside, from the deep, impenetrable darkness of the forest. It's not the howl of the wind or the rustle of leaves. It's the distinct, sharp snap of a dry twig under a heavy foot. You freeze. Every muscle in your body goes rigid. Your breath catches in your throat. The pain of the contraction that was just beginning to build is momentarily forgotten, eclipsed by a surge of pure, ice-cold adrenaline. You are not alone. Your eyes dart to the mouth of the cave, a pale, grey rectangle against the absolute black of the interior. You stare at it, willing it to remain empty, praying that what you heard was just a falling branch, a trick of the wind. But you know it wasn't. It was the sound of weight. Silence descends again, but it's a different kind of silence now. It's not the peaceful, room-like silence of the cave, but a heavy, charged silence, filled with unspoken threat. You hold your breath, straining your ears, trying to catch another sound over the frantic pounding of your own heart. Was it a deer, stumbling through the undergrowth, or wolf or a person? You don't know which possibility is more terrifying. The fire, which a moment ago felt like a comforting beacon, now feels like a terrible liability. It's a signal, a bright announcement in the dark: I am here. I am vulnerable. You have a sudden, insane urge to douse it, to plunge yourself into the relative safety of darkness, but you know you can't. You would be trading the threat of a predator for the certainty of freezing. Then, you hear another sound. A low, soft snuffling noise, just outside the entrance. It's an animal sound, the sound of a creature testing the air, smelling. It smells the smoke, it smells you. Your mind races. What do you have? What can you use as a weapon? Your eyes scan your pathetic little domain. The lucky stone, it's too small. The flint, its edges are sharp, but it's a tool for sparks, not for defense. Your hands are empty. You are defenseless. This is the brutal reality that underpins the romantic notion of living in harmony with nature. For most of human history, nature was not a peaceful retreat, it was a constant, formidable adversary. The forest was not a place for pleasant hikes, it was the territory of creatures much stronger and better equipped for survival than you were. Archaeological evidence from medieval sites sometimes includes human remains with marks of animal predation. It was not a common fate, but it was a real and ever-present fear, especially for anyone caught alone, injured, or otherwise vulnerable in the wilderness. The snuffling sound comes again, closer this time. You can picture it, a dark, hulking shape just beyond the circle of light, its wet nose twitching, its small, intelligent eyes fixed on the entrance to your refuge. You try to make yourself smaller, pressing back against the cold stone of the cave wall, as if you could somehow merge with it and disappear. A new contraction grips you, fierce and undeniable. You bite down hard on your own hand to keep from crying out, the coppery taste of blood filling your mouth. You cannot make a sound. A cry of pain could be mistaken for the cry of a wounded animal, an invitation to attack. You ride the wave of agony in absolute terrified silence, your body shaking uncontrollably. In the grip of the pain, a strange, primal instinct takes over. You are not just a woman anymore. You are a mother animal defending her den. A fierce, protective rage begins to smolder beneath your fear. If something comes into this cave, it will not find an easy meal. It will find a fight. As the contraction subsides, you look again at the fire. The fire is not just a beacon, it's also a weapon. You've heard stories of travelers waving torches to keep wolves at bay. You look at the pieces of wood you've gathered. One of them, a long, relatively straight branch, is burning steadily at one end. A torch. With a surge of desperate energy, you reach into the fire, ignoring the heat that licks at your hand, and grab the burning branch. The unburnt end is cool enough to hold. You pull it out. It's heavy, awkward, and smoking, but the end glows with a bright, angry red. You hold it in front of you, a pathetic, flickering spear of light pointed towards the dark entrance. You are no longer cowering. The snuffling stops. There is only the wind. Did it see the movement? Did it see the flame you wait? Your arm trembling from the weight of the branch and the sheer force of your terror. Seconds stretch into eternity. Your world has shrunk to the mouth of the cave and the glowing tip of your torch. Then you hear it again. The sound of footsteps, but they are retreating. A rustle of leaves, another snap of a twig, further away this time. And then, silence. A true, empty silence. It's gone. For how long you don't know, but for now it is gone. You slump against the wall, the torch still held weakly in your hand, your body shaking in the aftermath of the terror. You have survived. You have faced the beast in the dark and driven it away. You are still here. But the encounter has taken its toll, stripping away another layer of your strength, leaving you more exposed, more fragile than ever before. The immediate terror has passed, but it has left you changed. The adrenaline fades, leaving behind a profound, trembling exhaustion, yet your senses are heightened, sharp with a new and primal awareness. The cave no longer feels like a sanctuary. The darkness at the edges seems deeper, the silence more fragile. You are acutely aware of your own heartbeat, a frantic drum against the backdrop of the wind's low moan, and then the pain returns. But it too has changed. It's no longer just a series of waves to be endured. The contractions are taking on a new character, a new quality. They are deeper, more grinding, and they carry with them an unmistakable downward pressure, a physical bearing down that feels both involuntary and immensely powerful. This is it. The moment old Elspeth's words warned you about. The urge. It begins as a subtle shift, but quickly builds into an overwhelming, undeniable command from your own body. It's a force of nature, like a tide or an earthquake originating from somewhere deep inside you. It is the raw, irresistible impulse to push. You abandon the now smoldering torch, letting it fall to the cave floor. You don't need it. Your focus has narrowed to a single point. The fear of the beasts in the dark is gone, replaced by the immediate, all-consuming reality of this new stage of labor. You move instinctively, pushing yourself back up onto your hands and knees, the position that felt right before. You brace yourself, your hands flat against the gritty earth, your head hanging low. When the next contraction swells, you go with it. You surrender to the urge, adding your own conscious effort to the immense, involuntary power of your uterine muscles. A low, guttural groan is torn from your throat, a sound that is not one of pain, but of pure animal effort. It echoes in the small cave, a raw and powerful sound. In this moment, you are no longer a thinking, fearing human being. You are pure instinct. Your body has taken over, and your mind is just a passenger on this wild, terrifying ride. You are in a state that anthropologists and historians sometimes refer to as liminal, a threshold state, betwixt and between. You are on the threshold between one life and two, between your old self and the new self that is about to be born a mother. It's a state of being that is often accompanied by altered consciousness, a detachment from reality where the world fades and there is only the work. Between the contractions, there are brief, precious moments of stillness. You collapse forward, your forehead resting on the cool, damp earth, your body limp and trembling. You gasp for air, trying to gather your strength for the next wave. In these lucid moments, you are dimly aware of the fire flickering, the wind howling, but they seem very far away, part of a different world. This is the second stage of labor, the EXP-05 stage. In a village setting, this would be a time of high drama and activity. The midwife would be there, guiding your pushes, checking the baby's position, offering encouragement. Other women would be holding your hands, wiping your brow, speaking in low, soothing tones. Here, your only companions are the stone walls that echo your groans back at you. You are acutely aware of the incredible physical forces at play. You can feel the baby descending, a slow, arduous journey through the narrow passage of your pelvis. It is a sensation of stretching, of opening, of pressure so intense you feel you might break apart. This is a part of childbirth that historical sources, often written by men, rarely describe with any accuracy. They might speak of a woman's travails or ordeal, but the raw, physical reality of it was a uniquely female knowledge, passed down through experience, not texts. The debate among medical historians about birthing positions is a fascinating one. While the modern, Western default became lying on the back, a position that some argue is more for the convenience of the doctor or the mother, evidence suggests that for most of history, women adopted a variety of upright positions, squatting, kneeling, standing, or using a birthing stool. These positions utilize gravity and can help to open the pelvis more effectively. Here, in this cave, with no one to guide you, your body has instinctively found its way to one of these ancient, optimal positions. You are kneeling, not because you read it in a book, but because it is what your body, in its deep wisdom, demands. Another push. You bear down with all your might, your teeth gritted, the muscles in your neck and shoulders corded with effort. You feel a new sensation, a sharp, stinging, burning feeling at the opening of your body. The baby's head is crowning. The ring of fire, as midwives sometimes call it. It is the moment of maximum stretching, a pain so sharp and specific it cuts through the deeper, grinding ache of the contraction. You choke back a sob that is part pain, part terror, part awe. It is happening. It is really happening. You are at the very threshold. The head, the largest part of the baby, is passing through the gate of your body. You hold your breath. You push, you pour every last ounce of your will and your strength into this single monumental effort. You are in the heart of the ancient, biological rhythm, a dance as old as humanity itself. In a brief, gasping pause between the overwhelming urges to push, your eyes fall upon the meager pile of damp kindling you gathered earlier. Beside it lies the small, lumpy bundle of your 4 aged goods. And in that moment, a desperate, half-forgotten memory surfaces. A fragment of herbal lore, not from old Elspeth, but from your own grandmother. She was a woman of the fields, and she believed the forest held a cure for every ailment if you only knew where to look. You remember her making a special birthing tea for your aunt years ago. It wasn't for pain, she'd said. It was for strength. For the final push. The memory is hazy, clouded by time and the fog of your current agony, but you recall the ingredients. Nettles for their iron-rich vitality, and a piece of birch bark for you can't remember why. For resilience, perhaps. You don't have dried nettles, but as you stare at the damp leaves and twigs by the fire, you recognize something. A few dark, heart-shaped leaves, clinging to a thin branch you dragged in. They are not nettles, but they are familiar. And the branch itself with its pale, peeling bark, it's birch. It's a long shot, A desperate gamble based on a fading memory. Is this the right leaf? Is this what she meant in the rational world? It's a foolish idea. But here, in the primal space of the cave, instinct and folklore are all you have. You need to do something, anything, to give yourself a sliver of hope, a feeling of control. You need hot water. Your makeshift stone bowl by the dripping pool is only half full. It's not enough. Your eyes dart around the cave, searching. And then you see it. A large, empty snail shell, lying near the wall, almost iridescent in the firelight. It's a perfect, tiny cup. The next few minutes are a surreal interlude in the brutal rhythm of labor. You crawl to the back of the cave, the snail shell clutched in your hand. You fill it from your little pool of collected water. You crawl back to the fire. You pick the leaves from the twig and tear off a small piece of the papery birch bark, dropping them into the shell. Now, how to heat it? You can't place the delicate shell in the fire. You need a hot stone. You find a small, fist-sized rock near the edge of the embers, glowing a dull red. Using two twigs as clumsy tongs, you manage to lift the hot stone and, with a hiss and a puff of steam, drop it into the snail's shell full of water and leaves. The water sizzles and bubbles violently for a moment. A faint, earthy, slightly bitter aroma rises with the steam. It's working. You have made a crude, single-serving infusion. A potion, a prayer in a cup. This practice of using hot stones to heat water in an on-fire-proof vessel like a leather pouch or a hollowed-out log is an ancient one. Archaeologists find these pot boilers or boiling stones at prehistoric sites around the world. It's a piece of forgotten technology, a simple but ingenious solution to a fundamental problem. Here, you have unknowingly rediscovered it, driven by sheer necessity. While you wait for the tea to cool enough to drink, another contraction builds. You drop the shell and brace yourself, the ritual forgotten. The animal work reclaiming you. You push with a groan, your body convulsing with the effort. The burning, stretching sensation is more intense now. The baby is moving, descending. When the wave passes, you are trembling unslick with sweat. The water is still hot, but bearable. You lift it to your lips, your hands shaking, and drink the murky, lukewarm liquid. It tastes of earth, of bark, of bitterness. It's not a pleasant taste, but as the warm liquid slides down your throat and into your empty stomach, it feels like a balm. Does it actually do anything? Is there any medicinal property in these specific leaves? This piece of bark that can give you strength? Probably not. Modern science would likely dismiss it as utterly useless. But its effect is not purely chemical. The act of doing it, of remembering, of foraging, of preparing, of creating a remedy for yourself, is an act of defiance against the overwhelming chaos. To a sense of agency. In that moment, you are not just a passive victim of biology, you are an active participant, using the ancient knowledge of your people to aid yourself. The placebo effect is a powerful thing, and historians debating the efficacy of folk medicine must always contend with it. Belief itself can be a potent medicine. For you, the warm liquid in your belly is a spark of warmth, a flicker of strength. Whether real or imagined, it feels like enough. You set the empty shell down. You take a deep breath. You are ready. The brief ritual is over. You have given yourself this small, desperate comfort. Now, you must return to the work. You settle back onto your knees, plant your hands on the ground, and wait for the next wave, feeling, perhaps, just a little bit stronger, a little more prepared for the final, immense effort to come. It happens without warning. There is no great building crescendo, no final, agonizing push that feels different from the ones that came before. In the midst of a contraction, as you are lost in the red haze of effort and pain, you feel a sudden, distinct release. A gush of warm liquid, far more than the slow leak of water from before. It soaks the ground beneath you, a strange and startling sensation. Your waters have broken, truly broken. The contraction subsides almost immediately, leaving you in a sudden, shocking stillness. The immense, grinding pressure that has been the center of your universe for hours vanishes, replaced by a strange feeling of emptiness. For a terrifying moment, you think something has gone wrong. The sudden absence of pain is more alarming than the pain itself. You stay kneeling, frozen, listening to the sound of the liquid dripping onto the cave floor. The air is suddenly filled with a new smell, a faint, slightly sweet, oceanic scent. It's the smell of the amniotic fluid, the tiny, private sea your baby has lived in for 9 months. This moment, the rupture of the amniotic sac, is a significant milestone in any birth, but its timing can vary wildly. Sometimes it happens at the very beginning of labor, a dramatic gush that announces the start of the process. Sometimes, as in your case, it happens much later, during the second stage. And in some rare cases, a baby can be born with the sac still intact, a cool birth, which was considered to be a powerful omen of good luck and protection against drowning. Midwives like old Elspeth would carefully preserve the caul, believing it held magical properties. For you, there is no sense of luck or magic, only confusion and a dawning, new kind of urgency. You've heard the women in the village whisper that once the waters break, the protective barrier is gone, and the risk of the fever, of infection increases with every passing hour. The clock is ticking now, faster than ever. The pause is a gift, however. A brief, blessed ceasefire in the war your body has been waging. You use the moment to breathe, to take stock. You are soaked. You are exhausted, but you are still here. The baby is still inside you, safe. And then, as if to confirm this, you feel a movement. Not the violent, muscular clenching of a contraction, but a distinct internal shifting. The baby, no longer cushioned by the full sack of water, is moving into its final position. You can feel the hard, round shape of the head pressing down, lower than ever before. This brief respite is what some midwives call the rest and be thankful stage. It's a natural pause that can occur just before the final, most intense pushes, allowing the mother to regain a sliver of strength and the baby to complete its rotation through the birth canal. Historians of medicine note that this pause is often missed or rushed in modern managed births, but in a natural, unmedicated process like yours, it is a crucial, if brief, moment of grace. You use the stillness to look around your small, flickering world. The fire is burning low again, a steady, hypnotic glow. The makeshift water bowl is still slowly filling, drop by drop. The empty snail shell lies on its side, a testament to your desperate little ritual. This cave, which a day ago was a terrifying, alien place, has become your entire world. You know the texture of the wall behind you, the shape of the stones on the floor, the way the smoke curls towards the ceiling. You have fought here, you have bled here. You are transforming this cold, stone chamber into a place of creation. The feeling of peace is shattered as the next contraction begins to build. It is different from anything you have felt before. The pressure is immense, immediate, and focused to a single, sharp point. There is no slow build-up. It is simply there, an overwhelming, explosive force. Your body arches, and you bear down with a power you did not know you possess. This is the final descent. The breaking of the waters lubricated the path. The baby is coming. Now, you are no longer pushing. You are being pushed. Your body is a vessel for a force of nature, and all you can do is hold on. The burning, stretching sensation intensifies to an almost unbearable degree. You feel as though you are being torn in two, but there is no time for fear, no time for thought. There is only the overwhelming, biological imperative of this moment. You cry out a long, raw, open-throated sound that is not a plea for help, but a declaration of pure animal power. It is the sound of a mountain breaking, of a river bursting its banks. It is the sound of creation itself, echoing off the ancient stones that have stood silent for millennia. You are a channel for all the mothers who have come before you, their strength, their agony, their triumph pouring through you in this single, final, unstoppable surge. The world narrows to a single, searing point of sensation. The fire, the cave, the howling wind, all of it dissolves into a roaring in your ears. There is only the pain and the pressure, a force so immense it feels like it could split the very rock you're kneeling on. This is the body's absolute limit, the gate that must be passed. You push with a strength that is no longer your own. It is the collected strength of every meal you have ever eaten, every breath you have ever taken, focused into this one monumental effort. Your vision whites out at the edges. Time ceases to exist. There is only this eternal moment of passage. You feel a movement that is not a contraction but a slow, inexorable sliding. A release. The immense, splitting pressure of the head gives way. With a slippery, wet rush, the baby's head is born. The relief is so sudden, so absolute, it is almost as shocking as the pain. The contraction subsides, leaving you gasping, trembling, your forehead pressed to the cave floor. For a moment, there is a strange, surreal stillness, a life, halfway between two worlds. The baby's head is in the cold air of the cave, while its body is still held within the warmth of yours. You are terrified to move. You don't know what to do. In the village, this is the moment the midwife would take over, checking for the cord, guiding the shoulders. You are alone. A wave of panic threatens to engulf you. What if the cord is wrapped around the neck? You've heard the horror stories. The idea of the umbilical cord being a source of danger is an ancient one. Many cultures had superstitions and rituals surrounding it. In some traditions, a knot tied in a rope in the birthing room had to be undone, lest it magically cause the cord to knot around the baby's neck. While we now know this is not how it works, the fear was rooted in a very real and common complication of birth. Historians who study the history of midwifery point to this moment, managing the cord and the birth of the shoulders, as one of the key skills that separated an experienced midwife from a simple attendant. It was a moment requiring calm, knowledge, and deft hands. You have none of that. You only have instinct and a desperate prayer. You wait. You listen. And then you feel it again. Another shift, a rotation inside you. The baby is turning, aligning its shoulders for the final part of its journey. Your body, and the baby's body, they know what to do. This intricate, mechanical process, the cardinal movements of birth, is a dance choreographed by millions of years of evolution. To allow the shoulders to fit through the narrowest part of the pelvis, you are a witness to a miracle of biological engineering. The next contraction begins to build, but it's different. It's less agonizing, more of a powerful, productive shove. Your body knows the hardest part is over. It just needs to finish the job. You bear down one last time. There's no sharp tearing pain now, only a strange, slippery, gliding sensation. With a final, wet slither, the rest of the baby's body slides out of yours and onto the cold, hard ground of the cave. The silence that follows is the most profound silence you have ever known. The emptiness inside you is shocking. The immense, living weight that has been your constant companion for 9 months is suddenly gone. You feel hollowed out, scooped out. You collapse forward, your strength utterly gone, your body a rumbling, shuddering wreck. You lie there for a moment, your cheek against the damp earth, listening. Why isn't it crying? A new and terrible fear, colder and sharper than any that came before, pierces through your exhaustion. You push yourself up, your arms shaking violently. You turn and look. There on the ground behind you is a small, pale, still form. It is covered in a slick, white, waxy substance and streaks of your blood. It is curled in on itself, silent and unmoving, still attached to you by the thick, purple, pulsing umbilical cord. It looks less like a baby and more like a strange, alien creature, something washed up from the depths of a primordial sea. Is it alive? The question hangs in the silent, fire-lit air of the cave. The wind howls outside, but in this small chamber, the world holds its breath. You stare, your heart frozen, at the still, silent form. All that pain, all that effort, all that hope for a silent, still from on the cold ground the gateway has been passed, but you have no idea if you have arrived at a birth or a death. Time stretches and distorts. It could be a few seconds or an eternity that you stare at the small, still creature on the cave floor. The silence is a physical weight, pressing down on you, crushing the breath from your lungs. This is the moment of ultimate terror, the fear that haunts every expectant mother a silent birth. Then your grandmother's voice, rough and practical, cuts through the fog of your panic. A slap on the rump to make em greet the world. The memory is a jolt of electricity. You move, your exhaustion forgotten, replaced by a desperate, animalistic urgency. You scramble closer to the baby, your movements clumsy and weak. You reach out a trembling hand. The baby's skin is shockingly soft and slippery with the waxy vernix KSOSA, the birthing varnish that protects the skin in the womb. It's also cool. The fear that a baby born cool or blue might not survive is ancient, but the understanding of why is modern. We know now about the importance of maintaining a newborn's body temperature, about clearing the airways, about stimulating that first crucial breath. In your time, the methods work ruder based on observation and tradition. A silent baby was a terrifying emergency, and the response was immediate and physical. You caught the baby's tiny, slippery back in your hand. It's so small, so fragile. You lift it lightly and, with your other hand, you give its bottom a gentle but firm pat. Once, twice, nothing. The silence screamed, tears of despair well in your eyes. You've come so far, fought so hard. You can't lose now. You pat it again, harder this time, a small, desperate act of violence against the crushing stillness. And then, a tiny spluttering cough. I gasp. A spluttering intake of air. It's followed by a noise. Not a cry at first. A thin, mewling, cat-like sound. I weak, indignant protest against the sudden, shocking cold of the world. And then, as the air fills its brand new lungs for the first time, the MWL blossoms into a full-throated, furious, beautiful wail. The sound hits you like a physical blow. It shatters the silence of the cave, echoing off the stone walls, filling every corner with the undeniable miraculous proof of life. It is the most beautiful sound you have ever heard. Tears stream down your face, but they are not tears of despair. They are tears of relief, of joy, of an exhaustion so profound it has become a kind of ecstasy. You did it. HES here, HES alive. In the midst of the chaos, you can see that you have a son. You collapse back, pulling the screaming, squirming baby onto your bare stomach. The warmth of your own skin against his is the only comfort you can offer. He is a bundle of flailing limbs and furious energy, his tiny, wrinkled face screwed up in a red mask of outrage. His cries are strong, vibrant, and full of life. You hold him against you, your hands splayed across his tiny, heaving back. You can feel the frantic, hummingbird-like beat of his heart. You are both slick with blood and fluid, covered in the grime of the cave floor, but in this moment, you feel a sense of purity, of holiness that you have never known. You have crossed the threshold. You have brought a life into the world. The sound of his crying is a beacon. To you it is a song of victory. But a part of your mind, the part that still remembers the beast in the dark, knows that it is also a signal. A loud, clear announcement to anything that might be listening that a small, helpless creature is here. The urgency to secure your position, to make things safe, returned. The baby is here, but he is still attached to you. The umbilical cord, thickened bluish-white, snakes between you, a tangible, living link to the life you shared for 9 months. It pulses with a faint, steady rhythm, still delivering the last of its placental blood to him. This brief period of delayed cord clamping is something modern medicine has, in recent years, come to recognize as beneficial. That pulsing cord is giving the baby a final boost of iron-rich blood, a vital gift for the first few months of life. You don't know the science of it, but the folk wisdom of your time passed down through midwives like Elspeth often recommended waiting. Wait till the cord stops singing, she would say. You wait, holding your crying son, watching as the vibrant, purplish cord slowly turns pale and limp. The song is ending, the final connection is fading. You have passed through the gate of fire and pain, and on the other side, you have found this a new life, screaming and furious, undoubtedly dependent on you. The journey is not over. In many ways, it has just begun. But in this moment, holding your son, listening to the magnificent music of his first cries, you are victorious. The triumphant, life-affirming sound of your son's cries slowly gives way to a new, practical reality. The physical connection between you must be severed. He is his own person now, breathing the world's air, and the cord that sustained him has served its purpose. It lies pale and limp between you, a useless, fleshy rock. How do you cut it? In the village, this was a moment of ritual. Old Elspeth would have a special knife, or sometimes a pair of shears, reserved only for this purpose. She would tie the cord into places with clean linen thread before making the cut. It was done with a reverence that bordered on ceremony. You have no linen thread. You look around the cave, your eyes scanning for a solution. Your gaze falls on the small pile of objects you laid out by the fire what seems like an eternity ago. The lucky stone, the scrap of linen. Flint, the stone that gave you fire. It's edgy sharp, brutally sharp. Hunter-gatherers, thousands of years before you, used flint flakes to butcher animals and scrape hides. It is a primitive tool, but an effective one. You lay the baby gently on your cloak, which you've managed to bunch up into a makeshift swaddle beside you. He continues to cry, a steady, healthy wail. You reach for the flint. It feels cold and heavy in your hand, a piece of the earth's ancient skeleton. This feels wrong, savage. To use a rough stone for such a delicate and significant task seems like a desecration. You need to tie the cord. Elspeth's voice echoes in your memory, tie it tight, or the babe's life will bleed away. Whether this is strictly true or not is a matter for future medical debate. Historians will argue whether the natural clamping of the blood vessels in the cord is sufficient, or if tying it is a crucial step to prevent hemorrhage or infection. In your moment, with the midwife's dire warnings ringing in your ears, it is an absolute necessity. You have no thread. You look at your own clothes, at the hem of your tunic. The thread is too coarse to dirty. Then your eyes land on your own hair. It is long, thick, and surprisingly strong. It's a desperate, unorthodox solution, but it might work. With fumbling fingers, you pull a long, single strand of hair from your head. The sharp tug at your scalp is a small, grounding pain in the midst of the overwhelming sensations. You wrap the strand of hair tightly around the cord a few inches from the baby's belly, knotting it as best you can with your shaking, blood-slick fingers. It's a clumsy, makeshift ligature, but it seems to hold. You do it again, an inch further down the cord. Now for the cut. You hold the cord caught between the two knots. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself. You press the sharp edge of the flint against the tough, rubbery tissue. It doesn't slice through cleanly like a knife would. You have to sort it, a grim, repetitive motion. The feeling is visceral, unsettling. You are cutting a part of yourself, the last physical link to the life that grew inside you. Finally, with a last, tearing motion, the cord parts. It is done. Your son is a separate being. He isn't tethered. The small, ragged piece of cord still attached to his navel is his alone, a strange, fleshy jewel that marks his entrance into the world. You look at the flint in your hand, now smeared with blood, a tool of fire, and now a tool of separation. It feels like a powerful, mystical object. This ad hoc approach to one of birth's most crucial moments highlights the vast gap between prescribed ritual and desperate reality. Scribes in monasteries might write of the proper, blessed way to do things. But for a woman in your situation, survival depends on brutal pragmatism and invention. Using a hair for a ligature, a piece of flint for a knife, these are not things found in any textbook. They are born of pure necessity. It's a form of knowledge that is rarely recorded, but was likely essential for survival in the ancient world. You gently lift your son, now truly your own, and hold him close to your chest. His cries begin to soften as he feels the warmth and the steady, familiar rhythm of your heartbeat, a sound he has known his entire life. He is rooting, his tiny mouth making sucking motions, his head bobbing against your skin. He is searching for food, but before you can attend to his needs, another wave of sensation washes over you. Not the sharp, productive pain of a birth contraction, but a deep, aching cramp in your now empty womb. It is a powerful, clenching feeling. Your body's work is not yet finished. You have delivered the child. Now you must deliver the afterbirth. You hold your son close, his small, warm body a comfort against your own. But the new cramping in your belly is a stark reminder that the ordeal is not over. It's a strange, unsettling feeling, a powerful contraction without a baby to push out. Your womb is clenching down on itself, trying to expel what remains. This is the third stage of labor, a part of the process often overlooked in dramatic storytelling, but one that is fraught with peril. The delivery of the placenta, Old Elspeth called it the forgotten birth, and she treated it with as much gravity as the birth of the child itself. A clean delivery of the babe is only half the battle, she'd mutter. If the afterbirth doesn't follow, or if a piece is left behind, it will poison the womb from within. Her words were steeped in firm belief, but they held a core of terrifying truth. A retained placenta is a life-threatening medical emergency. It can cause catastrophic postpartum hemorrhage, the leading cause of maternal death for most of human history. Or as Elspeth warned, it can lead to a raging infection. The womb, unable to clamp down properly, would continue to bleed, and the decaying tissue left inside would become a breeding ground for bacteria. You know this. You've seen it happen. A woman in a nearby village, celebrated for delivering a healthy boy, died 2 days later in a feverish delirium because, as the women whispered, her body held on to the afterbirth. The fear of this is as real and as potent as the fear of the birth itself. You shift your position, your body aching with a weariness so deep it feels like it has settled in your bones. You try to squat, remembering Elspeth's advice to use gravity for this part too. You keep your son held tight against your chest with one arm, his presence a strange and powerful anchor in this final, frightening stage. The cramping intensifies, another deep, involuntary squeeze. You bear down, not with the explosive force of before, but with a tired, steady pressure. You can feel a heavy, soft mass detaching from the wall of your womb, a sensation that is both a relief and deeply unnerving. With a soft, wet slosh, the placenta is delivered onto the cave floor. It lies there, a dark, purplish, fleshy disc, veined with blood vessels. It looks like a strange, primitive organ, something from a freshly butchered animal. This organ, which your own body created, sustained your son for 9 months, filtering his blood, providing him with oxygen and nutrients, a perfect, self-contained life support system. Now it is just a piece of cooling meat on the dirty ground. The historical and cultural significance of the placenta is immense and varied. In many cultures, it was treated with great respect. Some buried it under a special tree, believing the child's destiny would be linked to the health of that tree. Others dried it and used it in folk remedies. The belief that it held a part of the child's soul or life force was common. In stark contrast, other societies, particularly as medicine became more formalized, viewed it as simple medical waste, to be disposed of unceremoniously. The debate about its proper treatment still echoes in some cultures today. For you in this cave, it is both a symbol of a finished miracle and a source of potential danger. You must check it. Elspeth's final lesson. She would carefully examine the delivered placenta, spreading it out to make sure it was whole. You must see that it is complete, she'd insist. If it is torn, if a piece is missing, you are in danger. With a sense of dread, you gently push your son to one side and look closely at the organ on the ground. It's hard to tell in the dim, flickering firelight. It looks like a complete, rounded shape, but is that a ragged edge is a piece missing? Still inside you, there's no way to be sure. A wave of anxiety washes over you. There is no midwife to give you a reassuring nod. You can only pray, but the delivery was clean. The cramping in your womb continues, but it is less about expulsion now and more about contraction. Your uterus, now empty, is powerfully clenching down, trying to shrink back to its normal size and, most important, blood vessels at the site where the placenta was attached, staunching the bleeding. This process, called involution, is what will save your life. You can feel the blood. It's flowing freely, pooling beneath you. It's a terrifying amount of blood, but you remember the women saying this was normal, the cleansing. But how much is too much, you have no way to know. You can only lie back, hold your son, and trust that your body knows what it is doing. You press your free hand against your lower belly and feel a hard, grapefruit-sized lump just below your navel. It is your womb, contracted and firm. It is a good sign. The forgotten birth is over. You have survived the third, most treacherous stage. Now all that is left is the quiet, deadly threat of the aftermath, the bleeding, the cold, and the ever-present ghost of infection. The crisis has passed, but the cold is seeping back in. The fire neglected during the final, frantic stages of birth has burned down to a pile of sullen, glowing embers. The cave is growing dimmer, colder. Your own body, which was a furnace of effort just moments ago, is now racked with violent, uncontrollable shivers. You are soaked in sweat, blood, and amniotic fluid, and the chill of the cave air on your wet skin is brutal. Your son, nestled against your chest, begins to fuss again, his small, protesting cries a reminder of his own fragility. He is as exposed as you are. Keeping him warm is the most important task in the world right now. You look at your clothes. Your wool tunic and leggings are filthy and soaked. They offer no comfort. Your cloak, which you had bunched up, is the driest thing you own. It is your only resource. With slow, aching movements, you begin to tear at the hem of the heavy wool cloak. The fabric is thick and sturdy, woven to withstand years of hard wear. Tearing it is not easy. You find a small tear from a thorn where you can start, and with gritted teeth you pull. The sound of ripping cloth is loud in the quiet cave. You manage to tear off a long, ragged strip. It's not a soft, clean blanket from a cedar chest. It's a piece of rough, dirty wool that smells of rain, wood smoke, and your own fear, but it is dry, and it is warm, holding your son with one arm. You use your other hand to perform a clumsy, one-handed swaddle. You wrap the strip of wool around his tiny body, tucking it snugly under his arms and around his legs. He immediately stops crying, his fussing subsiding into a soft grunt. The snug pressure and the warmth are a comfort to him, a faint echo of the tight, secure world of the womb he has just left. This practice, swaddling, is ancient and nearly universal. For centuries across countless cultures, newborns were wrapped up tightly. The reasons were both practical and philosophical. It kept them warm, it prevented their own startle reflex from waking them, and it made them easier to carry. Some also believed it helped their limbs grow straight and strong. While modern pediatric advice on swaddling is more nuanced for you and your son, in this cold cave, it is an essential act of survival. It is the first piece of clothing he has ever worn, a ragged banner of your fierce, protective love. You tear another, larger piece from your ruined cloak for yourself. It's not much, but you wrap it around your own shoulders, a pathetic shield against the bone-deep chill that is setting in. You huddle closer to the dying fire, pulling your knees up to your chest, creating a small pocket of shared warmth for you and the tiny, swaddled bundle you hold. You are a strange, primal portrait of motherhood. A half-naked, shivering woman, wrapped in a tattered piece of cloth, clinging to a newborn in a dark cave. Yet, in this moment of utter destitution, a profound sense of purpose settles over you. Your own discomfort, your own pain, even your own fear has become secondary. Your entire being is now focused on the small, helpless life in your arms. You look down at his face in the dim, glowing light of the embers. His eyes are squeezed shut, his tiny mouth working, his brow furrowed in a serious, ancient expression. He is perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes. The fine, downy hair on his head is plastered to his scalp. He is a miniature, complete human being, and you made him. This is a moment of bonding that transcends circumstance. The hormonal shifts in your body after birth, the surge of oxytocin. The love hormone are powerful, biologically programming you to protect and nurture your offspring. Historians and anthropologists can study kinship structures and family units, but they can only gesture towards this fierce, chemical, elemental love that is the bedrock of all human society. It is the force that ensures the survival of the species, and you are feeling it in its purest, most undiluted form. You need to rebuild the fire. Its warmth is life. You place your son carefully into a hollow you make in the remains of your cloak, tucking him in securely. He makes a small, protesting noise but settles again quickly. You crawl over to your pathetic wood pile. Every piece is damp. It will be a struggle to get them to catch from the low embers. You place the wood carefully, building a small, hopeful structure over the glowing coals. Then, just as you did before, you get down on your knees and blow, a slow, steady stream of air. Your head swims with exhaustion, but you persist. And after a long, tense moment, a small flame flickers, catches, and begins to grow. Light and warmth push back the cold and the dark once more. You have provided. You have created a safe, warm nest for your child from the ruins of your own belongings. It is a small, desperate victory, but it is a victory nonetheless. You have wrapped your son in warmth, and now you must find a way to give him his first meal. The fire is back, a small but steady companion, and your son is warm in his makeshift swaddle. The immediate crises of birth, cold, and darkness have been met. But a new, insistent demand is making itself known. Your son is stirring, his head turning from side to side, his mouth opening and closing in a blind, urgent search. He is hungry. This is his first and most fundamental need, and you are its only source. You know what to do. You've seen it 100 times in the village mothers and sisters nursing their babies, a casual, natural part of daily life. But watching and doing are two very different things. You pick him up, his swaddled body feeling solid and real in your arms. You settle back against the cave wall, your tattered cloak drawn around your shoulders, and try to position him. It feels awkward, clumsy. How do you hold him? How does he latch on? You guide his searching mouth towards your breast. He fusses, turning his head away, his small, frustrated cry starting up again. You try again, feeling a surge of anxiety. What if you can't do this? What if your milk doesn't come? This fear is a common one, but it's often based on a misunderstanding. The first milk, colostrum, is not the plentiful, white liquid you might imagine. It's a thick, yellowish, almost golden substance, produced in very small quantities. But it is liquid gold. It is incredibly rich in nutrients, fats, and, most importantly, antibodies. It is the baby's first immunization, a transfer of your own immunities to protect him from the dangerous new world of germs he has just entered. Old Elspeth called it beesting milk for its color and its power, more valuable than any medicine, she'd say. You don't know the science, but you know this first milk is crucial. You try again, stroking his cheek to trigger his rooting reflex. This time, his mouth finds its target. The sensation is startling, a strong, insistent pulling that is both slightly painful and strangely satisfying. He is latched. His frantic cries stop instantly, replaced by the soft, rhythmic sounds of his swallowing. It's a tiny, quiet sound in the vast silence of the cave, but it is the sound of life, of nourishment, of survival. A profound wave of relief and tenderness washes over you. You are feeding your child. You are giving him everything he needs. This moment, the first successful breastfeeding, is a biological contract being signed. His suckling sends signals to your brain, which releases more oxytocin. This hormone not only fosters feelings of love and bonding, but also causes your womb to contract, helping it shrink and reducing your bleeding. It's a perfect, self-regulating system, a conversation between two bodies that requires no words. However, the history of infant feeding is far more complex than this idyllic scene suggests. For centuries, breastfeeding was the norm by necessity. But for those who couldn't all, in the case of the wealthy, the alternatives were grim. The use of wet nurses, women hired to breastfeed another's child, was common among the nobility. For those who couldn't afford a wet nurse, the options were even worse. Animal milk from goats or cows was sometimes used, but it was often unhygienic and difficult for a newborn to digest. A horrifully common alternative was something called pap, or a concoction of bread or flour boiled with water, or milk into a starchy gruel. This was fed to infants using crude vessels or spoons. It was a poor substitute for breast milk, lacking vital nutrients and often contaminated, leading to staggering rates of infant mortality. The debate over wet nursing, maternal duty, and artificial feeding methods is one that has raged for centuries with moral, social, and medical dimensions. But here in this cave you are the only option. Your body is the only pharmacy, the only pantry he will know for months to come. He feeds for what feels like a long time, though it is probably only a few minutes. Then his sucking slows and he releases your breast, his body going limp and heavy with sleep. His face is slack with contentment, a tiny bubble of milk at the corner of his mouth. He is full. You hold him against your shoulder, his small head nestled under your chin. The warmth of his body seeps into yours, The fire crackles softly. The wind howls a little less fiercely outside. In this moment, a fragile peace descends upon your small kingdom of stone and firelight. For the first time since this ordeal began, you feel a flicker of something akin to hope. Not just hope for survival, but hope for a future. You look down at your sleeping son, this tiny stranger who is also a part of you. You have no name for him yet. You have nothing to offer him but the warmth of your body, the milk from your breast, and a fierce, boundless love. Right now, it is enough. You are both survivors. You have passed through the fire together. But as you sit there in the quiet, you feel a new, creeping sensation. A warmth that is not from the fire or from your son. A heat that is spreading through your own body, a flush in your cheeks, a throb in your head. It is the first, subtle whisper of a new and deadly enemy. The warmth starts subtly. At first it's almost welcome, a counterpoint to the persistent chill that has settled deep in your bones. You feel a flush in your cheeks, a pleasant heat spreading through your limbs. But it doesn't stop there. The warmth intensifies, growing into a dry, insistent heat that has nothing to do with the fire in front of you. A dull, heavy throbbing begins behind your eyes. You try to ignore it. It's just exhaustion, you tell yourself. The aftermath of the immense physical strain. But you know, with a cold, sinking feeling in your gut, that it is something more. You have seen this before. You know its name. Childbed fever. The demon that slips in on filth. Old Elspeth's words haunt you. Puerperal fever was the great, shadowy terror that loomed over every birth. Puerperal. It was a silent, invisible killer, more feared than a difficult labor because its work was done in the quiet days that followed the triumph of birth. A woman would deliver a healthy child, all would seem well, and then a day or two later, the fever would begin. The chills, the headache, the foul-smelling discharge, the raging thirst, the delirium. Death was often swift and agonizing. The historical toll of puerperal fever is staggering, a ghost that haunts the margins of population statistics for centuries. It was the leading cause of maternal mortality well into the 19th century, and the terrible irony is that for a long time, its cause was a complete mystery. It was blamed on all manner of things: a draught of cold air, emotional distress, a moral failing in the woman, or, as Elspeth believed, a malevolent spirit. The true cause, bacterial infection, would not be identified for hundreds of years. The idea that invisible germs could be carried on the hands of a doctor or midwife, or could enter the body through the raw, open wound left by the placenta, was beyond the realm of comprehension. The very act of birth, the tearing of tissue, the exposure to unsterile hands and surfaces, turned the new mother's body into a perfect gateway for infection. And your birth was far from sterile. You gave birth on the dirt and gravel of a cave floor. You used your own unwashed hands. You cut the cord with a piece of uncleaned flint. You are a textbook case for this disease. The warmth is no longer pleasant. It is a consuming internal fire. A new wave of shivers racks your body, but these are not the shivers of cold. They are the violent, teeth-chattering rigors that signal a rising fever. Your head pounds, and the flickering firelight seems to pulse in time with the throbbing in your temples. Your son, asleep on your chest, is a small, warm weight. You look down at him, and a new, desperate kind of fear grips you, sharper and more terrible than any you have felt before. It's not fear for yourself. It's fear for him. If you die, he dies. The thought is a physical blow, so devastating it steals your breath. You cannot let this happen. You have to fight it. But how you have no remedies, no medicines. Elspeth would have used cooling herbs, willow bark tea, a natural source of salicylic acid, the precursor to aspirin. She would have prayed and hung charms. You have nothing but your own will and the few resources this cave has to offer: water. The fever brings a raging thirst. You need to drink. You gently lay your sleeping son down in his nest of woolen kraal, your body now heavy and aching with a new kind of malaise, to the back of the cave. The world seems to tilt and sway around you. You lower your head to the small pool and drink the icy water greedily. It feels wonderful on your parched throat, but it does little to quench the fire inside. You splash the cold water on your face, on your neck. It's a momentary relief, a small shock that clears your head for a second. You need more water, and you need it by the fire. You look at your makeshift stone bowl, still slowly filling under the drip. It's not enough. Your eyes scan the darkness, and you remember the large snail shell you used for your tea. You find it and begin to ferry water, shell by shell, from the pool at the back to your stone bowl near the fire. Each trip is an immense effort. Your limbs feel like lead, your head is spinning. But the image of your son's face, the terror of leaving him alone, propels you forward. You make trip after trip, a slow, painful pilgrimage between the water source and your makeshift camp, until the shallow bowl is full. You have a small supply of water now. It's a tiny victory against the encroaching sickness. You huddle back by the fire, wrapping yourself in your tattered cloak, your teeth chattering despite the heat radiating from your own skin. The ghost has found you. The race has begun. It's your own body's resilience against a silent, invisible invasion. And you have no idea if it's a race you can win. The fever tightens its grip. The world takes on a strange, shimmering quality, the edges of things seeming to blur and waver in the firelight. Your thoughts, which had been so sharp and focused on survival, are becoming sluggish, drifting like smoke. You know you are slipping, losing the battle against the encroaching delirium. You force yourself to drink from your little stone bowl of water, but your hand shakes so badly that you spill as much as you consume. The cold liquid is a temporary shock to your system, but the internal fire rages on. You lie back, your head spinning, and close your eyes. Images flash behind your eyelids, the faces of your family, the green fields of your village, the terrifying, snuffling snout of the beast outside the cave. Are you dreaming, or is this the fever taking hold of your mind? A weak, fussing cry pulls you back from the edge. Your son, he is waking, hungry again. The sound is an anchor, a lifeline pulling you back to the present, back to your duty. With a monumental effort of will, you push yourself up. The world tilts violently, and for a moment, you think you will faint. You brace yourself against the cave wall, taking deep, shuddering breaths until the dizziness subsides. You must feed him. This one simple task becomes the focus of your entire universe. You lift him into your arms. He feels impossibly heavy. You manage to get him latched on, and the familiar, rhythmic pulling is a strange comfort, a piece of normal life in the midst of this waking nightmare. As he feeds, you look down at his small, perfect face, and a thought, clear and sharp as a shard of ice, cuts through the fever fog. If I die, I must leave him somewhere he can be found. The thought is so horrific you almost cry out. To abandon your child is a betrayal of every instinct in your body. But it is also a final, desperate act of love. To die here with him in your arms is to condemn him to a slow, certain death. To leave him somewhere, anywhere on a path, near a stream, by the edge of the forest gives him a sliver of a chance. A hunter might find him, a woman gathering wood, a traveler. This practice, known as infant abandonment or exposure, is a dark and tragic thread running through history. It was a desperate solution to poverty, to illegitimacy, to having too many mouths to feed. Sometimes it was an act of mercy, leaving a child at a church door or a monastery gaping in uncared for. The moral and social complexities of it are vast and debated by historians. Was it murder or a desperate plea for help for you? It is neither. It is the ultimate sacrifice. The thought gives you a new, terrible strength. You will not die in this cave. You will get up. You will walk. You will carry your son as far as you can towards a glimmer of hope. But you are so weak, so thirsty. The fever is burning away your life force. You need more water, but the thought of crawling back to the pool at the rear of the cave seems an impossible journey. You lay your now sleeping son back in his nest and force yourself to your hands and knees. You will try. You have to. You begin the slow, agonizing crawl towards the darkness. The floor seems to heave beneath you. The sounds of the cave, the dripping water, the crackling fire are a distant, muffled roar. You are halfway there when your hand, crawling forward, feels not damp earth, but a different kind of wetness. A slow, steady trickle of water. You stop confused. The main pool is still several feet ahead of you. You pat the ground, your fingers exploring. You found another, smaller fissure in the rock. One you hadn't noticed before, hidden in the shadows. And from it, a tiny, clean stream of water is flowing, creating a small, fresh channel across the cave floor before disappearing into the gravel. It is a miracle, a tiny, insignificant geological feature that is, to you, a sign from heaven. You don't have to go all the way to the back. Water is here. You lower your head and drink directly from the little stream, the water so cold it makes your teeth ache. It is the purest, sweetest water you have ever tasted. You drink and drink until you can drink no more. You splash it on your face, your wrists, letting the icy cold fight back against the fever's fire. This is the kind of small, random chance upon which survival often hinges. Not a ground battle, but the discovery of a hidden spring. The random good fortune that separates the living from the dead. Some might call it luck. Some might call it providence. For you, it is a second chance. The cold water clears your head, pushing back the delirium, at least for a while. It gives you a moment of clarity. You are not dead yet. The fight is not over. You have a fire. You have a son who needs you. You will not think about leaving him. You will fight this fever. You will sip water. You will sip water. You will last until dawn. And when the sun comes, you will walk out of this cave together. You make this a solemn vow, a promise to the tiny, sleeping life beside you and to the flicker of hope this hidden spring has just given you. The night deepens a long, dark tunnel of fever and fear. You drift in and out of a state that is neither sleep nor wakefulness. One moment you are lucid, acutely aware of the crackling fire in the small, breathing bundle beside you. The next, you are lost in a fever dream, seeing faces in the flickering shadows on the cave wall, hearing whispered conversations in the moan of the wind. Your son becomes your anchor in this drifting, disorienting world. His small periodic cries for food are the bells that call you back to shore. Each time he wakes, you force yourself up from the depths of your delirium, your movements slow and heavy, as if moving through water. You hold him, you feed him, and the simple, physical act of nursing him is a reaffirmation of your purpose, a tether to reality. When he is fed and settled again, you hold him close, his swaddled warmth a comfort against your own feverish heat. And you begin to sing. The song has no words. It is a low, humming sound, a simple, repetitive melody that you invent in the moment. It's a tune of no more than 3 or 4 notes, rising and falling in a gentle rhythm, a wordless lullaby. You hum it over and over, your voice rough and cracked from thirst and exhaustion. This act of singing, of creating music in the face of despair, is one of the most profoundly human things you can do. It is an act of defiance. It is a way of imposing order, however small, on the overwhelming chaos. You are not just a sick animal cowering in a cave, you are a mother, comforting her child with a song. You are creating a small pocket of peace and beauty in the heart of this ordeal. The history of lullabies is as old as language itself, a cross-cultural constant in the human experience. Their purpose is twofold: to soothe the child, and perhaps just as importantly, to soothe the parent. The slow, rocking rhythm, the repetitive melody, the act of controlled breathing, all of it can lower stress and anxiety in the singer. Your wordless tune is a form of self-medication, a way to calm your own racing, feverish mind while you comfort your son. Scholars have noted that the melodies of lullabies across the world share similar characteristics: simple, repetitive patterns and a gentle, descending contour that seem to be universally calming to the infant brain. As you hum, you rock your body gently, back and forth, back and forth. The repetitive motion, combined with the low drone of your voice, creates a kind of trance. The sharp edges of your fear and pain begin to soften. The terrifying visions at the edge of the firelight seem to recede. There is only the warmth of your son, the low glow of the embers, and the sound of your own voice, creating a fragile shield of sound against the vast, silent darkness. You are your own midwife, your own priest, your own minstrel. You are performing all the roles that a community would normally provide, trying to conjure a sense of safety and ritual out of nothing but your own body and your own will. In a brief moment of clarity between the waves of fever, You look down at your son, sleeping peacefully in your arms, his face unruffled. He knows nothing of the fever that consumes you, of the predators that might lurk outside, of the desperate uncertainty of your future. His entire world is the warmth of your body, the sound of your heartbeat, and the low, rumbling hum of your voice. You are his world. And the weight of that responsibility is both terrifying and immensely strengthening. You must not fail him. The humming continues, becoming as natural and as necessary as breathing. It is a thread of sound you spin out into the darkness, a thread of connection between your heart and his. It is a prayer without words, a promise that you will keep watch, that you will endure, that you will not let the darkness win. The fever still burns within you. The danger is not gone. But in this small, quiet act of love, this wordless, tuneless, and utterly beautiful lullaby, you have found a new kind of weapon. It is not a weapon of flint or fire, but of peace. It will not cure the fever in your body, but it is a balm for the terror in your soul. And for now, in the deep, dark heart of the longest night of your life, that is enough. You rock, and you wait for the dawn. You don't know when you fell asleep. It wasn't a conscious decision, but a slow final surrender to the crushing weight of exhaustion and fever. One moment you were humming, rocking your son in the dim, red glow of the embers, and the next, you were simply gone, adrift in a dark, dreamless sea. You are woken by a touch, not a sound, not a cry, but a gentle, warm touch on your cheek. Your eyes flutter open. The cave is not dark. It is filled with a soft, grey, pearlescent light. The fire has died completely, leaving behind a small pile of cold, white ash. The air is still and cold, but it has lost the biting, hostile edge of the night. And the light is coming from the entrance. You turn your head, your neck stiff and sore, and you see it. A single brilliant golden spear of light is lancing through the mouth of the cave, cutting through the gloom and painting a bright, warm rectangle on the far wall. It is the sun. The dawn has come. You stare at it, mesmerized. It is the most beautiful, most holy thing you have ever seen. You never thought you would see it again. The simple, everyday miracle of the sunrise feels like a personal, profound blessing, a promise that the world has not ended, that the long, terrible night is finally over. Tears well in your eyes and spill down your cheeks, hot against your cool skin. You are crying, but for the first time in what feels like a lifetime. They are not tears of pain or fear. They are tears of pure, unadulterated gratitude. You take a deep, shuddering breath. The air feels clean, new. You survived. You both survived the night. And the touch on your cheek, you look down. Your son is awake, lying nestled in your arms. His eyes, a deep dark, slate-white blue, are open and looking right at you. One of his tiny, perfect hands has escaped its swaddling and is resting on your face. He is not crying. He is just watching you, his expression one of calm, solemn curiosity. It is the first time you have truly seen his eyes. It is the first time he has truly seen you. In that moment, a connection is forged, a silent, mutual recognition that is deeper than any words. You are his mother. He is your son. Then you notice something else. The fever has broken. The raging internal fire has been quenched. Your skin is cool and clammy with sweat, but the consuming heat is gone. The throbbing in your head has subsided to a dull ache. Your mind feels clear, sharp, blessedly your own again. You are weak, so profoundly weak you feel like you are made of straw, but you are lucid. You are alive. The historical reality of fevers is that they were often a battle fought over a single night. A body's immune system would mount a massive defense, and by dawn, the crisis would have passed, one way or the other. You have been through that fire, and you have emerged on the other side, scarred and exhausted, but victorious. Why you survived when so many others didn't is a mystery. Perhaps your constitution was strong. Perhaps the strain of bacteria that found you was less virulent. Perhaps it was the constant sips from the hidden, clean spring. Or perhaps it was simply luck. The uncontroverted, arbitrary luck that so often governs life and death. You need to move. You need to get out of this cave, out into the clean air and the sunlight. The cave, which was your sanctuary, now feels like a tomb. It smells of blood, of sweat, of stale smoke. It is a place of darkness and trial, and you need to leave it behind. The process of getting up is slow and arduous. Every muscle in your body screams in protest. Your legs tremble, barely able to support your weight. You use the cave wall to steady yourself, your son held tightly in the crook of one arm. You stand there for a long moment, swaying, gathering your strength. You look around the small chamber one last time. You see the ashes of your fire, the makeshift stone bowl, the ruined cloak, the dark stains on the ground. A part of you will remain here forever. The person you were when you entered this cave is gone, shed like a skin. You take a deep breath and, with a shuffling, uncertain gait, you walk towards the light. The sun at the entrance is blindingly bright. You step across the threshold, out of the darkness and into the morning. The world is reborn. The rain has washed everything clean. The leaves on the trees glitter with a million tiny droplets. The air is crisp and cold and smells of wet earth and pine. A bird is singing somewhere nearby, a cheerful, trilling sound that feels like a welcome. You lift your face to the sun, closing your eyes and just feeling its warmth on your skin. It feels like a benediction. You have come back to the world of the living. The sunlight is a shock, a physical force that makes you dizzy. You lean against the cold, mossy rock at the entrance of the cave, your legs trembling, your eyes closed against the sudden, overwhelming brightness of the morning. You are out, but you are not safe. The world, washed clean by the night's rain, is beautiful, but it is still the same vast, indifferent wilderness. You are a lone woman with a newborn, weak from childbirth and fever, with no food and no shelter beyond the dark hole you've just crawled out of. The triumph of surviving the night gives way to the daunting, practical reality of surviving the day. You take a moment to reorient yourself, to let your senses adjust. You can hear the gentle murmur of a stream somewhere nearby. The bird you heard before continues its song, joined by others. The forest feels less menacing in the clear light of day. Holding your son tightly, you take your first tentative steps away from the cave. Each step is an effort of will. Your body is a wreck, a vessel that has been pushed far beyond its limits. Your muscles ache, your joints feel loose and unstable, and a deep, profound weakness permeates your entire being. You are bleeding still, a slow, steady seep that is a constant reminder of the wound inside you. You look down at your son. He is sleeping peacefully in your arms, his face serene, oblivious to the precariances of your situation. His utter dependence is both a terrifying burden and your single greatest source of strength. You are not walking for yourself. You have no destination, no map. You only have a vague, instinctual sense of which way you came from. You must try to find your way back towards civilization, towards any sign of human life. Your first few steps are shuffling and slow. You use the trees for support, pausing every few feet to catch your breath. The world, which you had navigated with frantic energy just a day before, now seems full of obstacles. A fallen log is a mountain to be climbed over. A patch of muddy ground is a treacherous swamp. This postpartum period, often called the fourth trimester, is a time of immense vulnerability for both mother and child. The mother's body is healing from the trauma of birth. Her hormones are in flux, and she is profoundly exhausted. In any society, this is a time when the support of a community, family, neighbors, or partner is crucial. They provide food, care, and protection. You are your own community, you are in protector. The historical reality for women who, for whatever reason, found themselves alone after childbirth, widows, outcasts, refugees of war, was incredibly grim. Their survival, and that of their babies, depended on a combination of immense personal fortitude and sheer dumb luck. As you walk, you scan the forest floor, your eyes searching for anything that might be useful. You see a patch of late-season berries, a dark purplish red. Are they edible? You think so. You remember seeing birds eat them. You pop one into your mouth. It's dark and seedy, but it's the first real food you've had in what feels like days. The small burst of flavor, of sugar, is a revelation. You carefully pick a few more, eating them slowly, savoring each one, a tiny bit of fuel for your exhausted body. You find the stream you heard earlier. The water is clear and cold, flowing over smooth grey stones. You kneel and drink deeply, then splash the water on your face. You use a corner of your tattered cloak to gently clean your son's face, and then your own. The simple act of washing, of removing some of the grime and blood of the birth, feels like a reclamation of your own humanity. You are not just a wild creature anymore. You sit by the stream for a while, resting, gathering your strength. You nurse your son again. The world is quiet, peaceful. For a moment, you could almost forget the terror of the night. But you know you can't stay here. You have to keep moving. You stand up, your body protesting with every fiber. You look at the sun, now higher in the sky. You try to judge the direction. Which way leads to people, which way leads deeper into the wilderness? You choose a direction and begin to walk again. A slow, painful, determined march towards an unknown horizon. You are a fragile, solitary figure in a vast landscape. But you are not the same person who fled into these woods. That person was running from something. You now are walking towards a future for your son. And with each painful step, you are leaving the cave, and the darkness, and the ghosts of the night further and further behind you. Hours pass. The sun crawls across the sky, a silent, indifferent marker of your slow progress. The initial clarity of the morning has given way to a monotonous, aching rhythm. Walk, rest, nurse the baby, walk again. The forest is a repeating pattern of trees and stones, and a desperate, disorienting feeling begins to set in. Are you walking in circles? Your weakness is a constant companion. Your vision sometimes tunnels. The edge is going dark, and you have to stop and lean against a tree until the world rights itself. The hunger is a dull, persistent ache in your belly. The few berries you ate are long gone, and you haven't found any more. Doubt, a cold and insidious serpent, begins to coil in your mind. Was leaving the cave the right decision? At least there you had shelter, a source of water. Here, you are exposed, wandering with no goal in sight. What if you chose the wrong direction? What if you are walking deeper into an unpeopled wilderness, further away from any hope of rescue? You look down at your sleeping son, his face peaceful and trusting. You made a promise to him. You will not give up. You shift his small weight in your arms and force your legs to move again. It's in this state of near total exhaustion that you see it. At first you think it's a trick of the light, another fever-induced hallucination. A thin, grey tendril rising from behind a distant ridge of hills, so faint it's almost invisible against the pale blue sky. You stop, your heart suddenly pounding. You stare, unblinking, willing it to be real. It wavers, disappears for a moment as the wind shifts, then reappears, a little thicker this time. It's smoke. It's not the random, billowing smoke of a forest fire. It's a steady, controlled plume. It is the smoke of a hearth of a cook fire. It is the smoke of people. A sob of relief escapes your lips, a raw, choked sound. Hope so powerful it feels like a physical blow surges through you, sweeping away the exhaustion and the despair. It's a direction, a destination, a promise of salvation. A new energy floods your body. Your steps, which had been a slow, painful shuffle, become more purposeful. You have a landmark now. You fix your eyes on that thin, grey ribbon of smoke, and you walk towards it as a sailor walks towards the light of a distant lighthouse. But the journey is not a straight line. The terrain is difficult, forcing you to detour around thickets of thorns and down steep, slippery banks of earth. The ridge that looked so close seems to recede as you approach it. The smoke is your goal, but it is a cruel one, a promise that dangles just out of reach. This is a classic scenario described in many historical survival accounts. The first sign of civilization provides an immense psychological boost, but it can also create a dangerous last-mile effect. A person exhausted and at their limit sees rescue in sight and may push themselves too hard, making a fatal mistake when they are so close to safety. You are not immune to this. You stumble, catching your foot on a root, and go down hard on one knee. Pain, sharp and electric, shoots up your leg. You cry out, more in frustration than in pain, and you have to fight back a wave of desperate tears. You force yourself back to your feet, your knee throbbing. You cannot fail now, not when you are so close. As you get nearer, you begin to see other signs. A track that is slightly more worn than the surrounding forest floor, suggesting the passage of feet. A tree with a strange, unnatural-looking blaze cut into its bark. These are the subtle footprints of humanity on the landscape. Finally, after what feels like another lifetime of walking, you crest the last ridge. You look down into the small valley below, and you see it. Not a village, not even a hamlet. Just a single, small, shabby-looking hut, built of rough-hewn logs and daubed with mud. A thin curl of smoke rises from a hole in its thatched roof. Outside, a few scraggly goats are tethered to a post. It is the most beautiful sight in the world. But as the initial wave of relief passes, a new anxiety takes its place. Who lives here, a friendly farmer, a solitary woodsman, or something else, a charcoal burner? Perhaps men known for being rough, reclusive, and suspicious of strangers. An outcast, banished from a village for some cry. A lone woman like yourself might not be seen as someone in need of help, but as a threat, a vagrant, a potential thief. The hope of rescue is suddenly tempered with a new and complex fear. You have survived the wilderness. Now you must survive other people. Their judgment, their suspicion, their potential cruelty. For a woman alone, a stranger's door could be a gateway to either salvation or a new kind of danger. You stand there on the ridge, a wild-looking figure in tattered clothes, holding a newborn child, looking down at the small, smoking hut that represents your only chance. You have come to the edge of one world and the beginning of another, and you have no idea what awaits you inside. You stand on that ridge for a long time, the hope in your heart wrestling with a cold, new fear. The hut below is a beacon, but it's an unknown one. Forcing your exhausted legs to move, you begin the slow descent into the small valley, your eyes never leaving the shabby structure. Every step feels heavy, final. As you draw closer, the details of the place sharpen. You see a small, untidy garden patch with a few withered-looking cabbages. An axe is stuck in a large chopping block. The door to the hut is a simple, rough plank affair, hanging slightly askew on leather hinges. There are no windows. It's a place built for function, not for comfort, a lonely outpost on the edge of the world. A goat bleats as you approach, its yellow, rectangular eyes watching you with unnerving stillness. The sound is startlingly loud in the quiet valley. Would it alert the person inside? Do you want it to? You hesitate a few yards from the door, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You clutch your son a little tighter. His presence is both your greatest vulnerability and your only possible appeal to compassion. Surely, no one could turn away a mother with a newborn. Before you can decide whether to call out or to retreat, the door creaks open. A figure emerges, stooping to clear the low doorway. It is a man. He is old, his back bent, his face a roadmap of wrinkles. A thin, grey beard hangs down to his chest. He is dressed in rough, patched clothes, and leans heavily on a gnarled walking stick. He squints at you, his eyes clouded with age, a flicker of surprise followed by a deep, ingrained suspicion. He is a hermit, a woodsman, someone who has chosen to live apart from the world. This is perhaps the worst-case scenario. A man not accustomed to solitude is unlikely to welcome a disruption like you. He says nothing. He just stares, his gaze taking in your torn and filthy clothes, your wild hair, and the small, swaddled bundle in your arms. The silence stretches, thick with tension. You feel you must say something, explain yourself, but your throat is dry and no words will come. This encounter is a microcosm of a deep historical tension. The relationship between settled communities and the solitary figures who lived on their fringes, hermits, recluses, wise women, charcoal burners, was always complex. They were sometimes sought out for their knowledge or for spiritual guidance, but they were more often feared, ostracized, and blamed for any misfortune that befell the nearby villages. They were the other, living outside the bounds of normal society. Finally, the old man speaks. His voice is a low, gravelly rasp, rough from disuse. What do you want? The question is not unkind, but it is not welcoming either. It is a simple, direct demand. You find your voice, though it comes out as a weak, trembling whisper. Help, you say, just that one word. It's all the energy you have. The old man's gaze drops to the bundle in your arms. Your son, woken by the halt in your movement, lets out a small, sleepy cry. The sound cuts through the tension. It is a sound that needs no translation, a universal plea. Something in the old man's expression shifts. The hard suspicion in his eyes softens almost imperceptibly. He looks from the baby back to your face, seeing for the first time not just a vagrant, but a mother at the absolute end of her strength. He sees the hollows under your eyes, the tremor in your hands, the dry blood on your clothes. He lets out a long, slow sigh, a sound of weary resignation. He has lived alone for years, wanting nothing from the world and wanting the world to ask nothing of him. But the world has come to his door, in its most helpless and demanding form. Without another word, he turns and gestures with his head for you to come inside. The invitation is gruff, wordless, but it is an invitation nonetheless. It is an act of charity, of kindness. It is a hand, shinchu in the wilderness. A wave of relief so powerful it makes your knees buckle, washes over you. You stumble forward, across his threshold, out of the harsh light of the outside world and into the dim, smoky interior of the hut. The inside is small and dark, the air thick with the smell of wood smoke, unwashed wool, and something else, the sharp, clean scent of herbs. Bunches of dried plants hang from the low rafters. A small fire smolders in a stone-lined hearth in the center of the room. A simple straw pallet lies in one corner. It is a poor, humble place, but it is shelter. It is shelter. The old man points to a low, three-legged stool near the fire. You sink onto it, your body finally surrendering to its exhaustion. You have made it. You are not alone anymore. Your journey is not over. You do not know if his kindness will last. You have a long road of healing and recovery ahead of you, but for the first time in what feels like an eternity, you are not facing it by yourself. In the middle of nowhere, at the door of a stranger, you have found a moment of grace. A small, unexpected act of human decency that shines like a star in the vast darkness of your ordeal. You are safe, and so you rest. The hard edges of the world begin to soften and blur, the gruff but gentle movements of the old man becoming part of a slow, unfolding dream. The warmth from his fire is different from the desperate heat of your own. It is a steady, comforting presence, a warmth that asks for nothing in return. You can feel the great, coiled spring of tension inside you finally, slowly, beginning to unwind. Each breath is a little deeper, a little easier than the last. The weight of your son in your arms feels less like a burden of responsibility and more like an anchor, holding you to this peaceful, quiet moment. The low murmur of the old man's voice as he tends to the fire, the soft crackle of the flames, the gentle rhythm of your own sleeping child's breath, these are the sounds that are weaving the fabric of your sleep. You are drifting now on a calm, quiet river, away from the shores of pain and fear, a story that happened to someone else a long time ago. There is only this warmth, this safety, this profound and bottomless peace. You are sinking into it, like a stone settling into the soft, quiet mud at the bottom of a still lake, down into the deep, healing darkness of a well-earned sleep. The journey is over. It is time to rest. The end of the article. Good night.